So could you, for people who don't know you, introduce yourself a little bit and just a little bit about your background?
My name is Jimmy Lindberg. I'm 30 years old and I live in Helsingborg, Sweden. I, in my trans background or in my running sports
Just in
background,
life,
or
although actually, could you tell me a little bit about how you got into athletics generally, and then what made you fall in love with specifically the sport you play now?
yeah, I've always been active. I mean, I played soccer when I was a child, and then I had a few years where I didn't exercise at all. And then my school had a race when I was 13 or so, and I decided to give it my all. I finished like dead last, but I decided that next year I'm going to win. So I got really motivated and I ran a lot over the next year and I placed second. And then that was when I was in eighth grade. And then the next year I won the race. So that was something that I really found interesting. And while I also ran, my teacher, he really motivated me to run. And during PE, we went out running, me and my teacher, just me and him. So that was great. We had a lot of time together. And then I found it that I wanted to continue running even after elementary school. So I joined my local running club here in Helsingborg. And then I kept advancing. And soon enough, I won district championships as a male. And I mean, I qualified for the nationals for seniors. So I was at a pretty high level.
Wow. So could you tell me then, what do you think is the secret to your success?
Well, I don't know if it's success. I mean, I'm with everything I do, I'm very motivated to achieve, to perform to my best of my abilities. I mean, I quit running when I decided to transition when I was 20 because I felt that trans athletes would never be allowed to race as women.
Hmm.
So, I mean, I had like 4.5 years where I didn't run at all, but then I picked up running again when I was 25. And since then, I've run almost every single day. I mean, I've run every single day since January 2019. So I keep a run streak. So I run at least 8 kilometers every day.
Wow. Can I just ask then, just for the sake of clarification, so you decided you wanted to transition when you were 20. Is that when you sort of figured out that you were trans as well, or did that
No, I
happen?
figured out I was trans when I was like 12 or when I hit puberty. I mean, it
Understand.
was obvious, but I mean, I told my parents I think might be transgender, but my parents told me, no, you're a man, be a man. So, I mean, I didn't get on puberty blockers or anything, unfortunately. I mean,
Understandable.
I developed anorexia because I hated my body becoming more and more masculine.
Wow.
So, I mean, I struggled with an eating disorder from when I was 13 to I was like 16 and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, so can I ask then, sort of zooming out, so you said that you decided to stop running when you decided to transition because you didn't think that you would ever be allowed to compete as a runner with other women.
Yeah.
When did that change to allow you to do that?
Oh, it changed like they said that they didn't allow it for when I tried when I was 25 because they didn't know what to do and everything like that, the Swedish Athletics Track and Field Federation. But they wanted me to like have all the surgeries completed and everything, and they didn't know whether they should allow me or not. So it was like in 2020 when they said that, oh, if you get the gender reassignment surgery and have T levels lower than 5 nanomoles per liter, then in a year you might be allowed to race. But I mean, transitioning takes time. So I mean, I didn't get my surgery until July last year, and I was allowed to race after that. but I mean, I kept it off because I still, I mean, you've seen in the media, people say, oh, trans athletes, they're horrible and all that. And I mean, there has never been a transgender woman racing in Sweden before. So, I mean, being the first, it can be hard, but so, I mean, I put it off for very long, but then a few weeks ago, I decided that, yeah, I'm going to do it. I mean, and then I contacted my local newspaper, and like the day after they had been here for an interview, I mean, World Athletics announced their ban. So it was like, why now?
So you'd pretty much just like really decided that you were gonna um go back, and then they took that option away from you pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, exactly.
Um, so what did that feel like with that sort of knowing that you would be the first? What did that
Yeah,
kind of feel like for you um in terms of the like weight of that? Were you aware of that going in?
yeah. I mean, I was aware that there hadn't been any other transsexual athletes in Sweden before. I mean, there are two other transgender athletes in Sweden who have been cleared to participate as women, but as far as I know, they have never been in media or anything. And so, I mean, I'm the first to do that at least.
Hmm.
And when I did race, I mean, even before, I mean, there was a lot of hate. People said, "Oh, you're a man. You just transition to beat women," and that sort of thing. I mean, so it was hard. I mean, even at race day, people in my own club said, "You shouldn't race here. You're not allowed."
Wow. So is that
So
particularly, do you feel like is there a do you feel like you have sort of a base of support in Sweden, or does it seem to all be really hostile against you in the sporting world?
there's some support. I mean, there are others in my local running club who are supportive of me. I mean, the best female runner in my club, she is supportive of me. So, I mean, it's a mixed response. I mean, people who are not involved in running are generally less supportive, actually. Yeah, even though you would have thought it'd be the other way around. But most runners are actually fine with it, or at least they didn't say anything. I mean, and I figured that since I'm in pretty bad shape right now for running fast, I figured that it might be easier to, race since I mean I didn't pose a threat to winning. I mean, had I been cleared 3 years ago when I was in very good shape and for fast running, I mean, I would probably have placed second or third in the race I ran. So, I mean, that would have probably gotten a bigger negative response than placing 12th as I did.
I see, I see. Out of how many, by the way, just to clarify?
34 women. So, I mean, like middle of the pack.
No, okay. Um, and just to go back to the point you were saying that you mentioned earlier about the some of the rules that you were being asked to follow in terms of keeping your testosterone below, what was it, 5?
Nanomals per liter blood.
And to just to clarify, that's as far as I'm aware, extremely on the low end, even for like cis women, right? Like,
No, it's the medium for cis women.
okay,
But I mean, my levels are at 0.5 nanomoles per liter, so that's extremely low even for cis women. I
wow,
mean, it's barely readable.
wow. Um,
So I mean, I have a huge disadvantage when it comes to testosterone nowadays.
um, so what is your I ask, I know this is probably quite a difficult question, with all the news and stuff, but what is your sort of next move from here? Like, does this, in terms of what does the next kind of few months look like for you?
I mean, as far as I know, I'm allowed to race until last of April in Sweden, and then the federation is going to make some sort of decision, but I don't know what decision right now. So I'll have to wait and see. I mean, I've signed up for, recreational races, and there I'm allowed to race since it's not about winning or anything. So I've signed up for two races in at the beginning of May, and then I'll have to see. I mean, I want to, get fast again, but if I'm not allowed to race, then what's the point really? I mean, for the past year and a half, I've only been, fun running, taking it easy and running on my own in the forest, listening to the birds and seeing the nature and all that. Running with my dog. I don't know if you can't see her.
I can't see the dog.
There she is.
Oh, what's the dog's name?
Kia.
Here?
Yeah.
Very cute. That's super
Yeah.
cute.
So, I mean, so I'm running with her every day. So, I mean, she's 12 years old. So, I mean, she can't go that fast any longer. So, I mean, I've sort of adjusted my pace after that. And I mean, if I'm to race again, I have to pick up the pace a lot.
Hmm.
So so I don't really have anything planned for more than until the beginning of May. Just racing wise, I mean, I've been in contact with World Athletics, the ones who did banned me, and about perhaps being in an advisory role or anything. And they actually replied yesterday.
Oh, okay. What did they say?
Yeah, so and they said that they were very happy that a trans athlete reached out, and they said that they wanted to know my qualifications and who I was and all that, and so I told them that, and I said that I can do pretty much anything. Just ask me, and I'll help out because because I feel this issue should be resolved, and I feel that trans athletes should be allowed to race. And Stefan there, he said, "Yeah, I'll be in touch." So I'll have to see. I mean, I've been in contact with other transgender runners as well. Ricky Coughlan in Australia, New Zealand, and Joanna Harper in USA, I believe. So I
Hmm.
mean, and some other interest organizations for transgender people in general. To sort of set up some sort of trans running association, whatever. I mean, I feel that there are so few of us, so I feel that we could really help each other out if such a network was to exist.
Yeah, that would be it would certainly be a big help, I'm sure. Um, so obviously your big passion is running. What do you do kind of day to day? What is your like what is your is this does this allow you are you what does your day to day look like?
Oh, I study. I'm studying a master's in gerontology.
Wow. Can I'm gonna sound really stupid here. Can I ask what that is?
Gerontology is the teaching of the aging process.
Wow.
Healthy aging, sick aging, geriatrics. How the people are at old age, if you're healthy, if you're ill, and all that. So I'm actually writing my master's thesis right now on chronic morbidity in the Swedish centenarians.
Hmm.
So I study, how sick were people in 1990 and how sick are people now. So that's what I do at the
What are you
moment. And I
discovering
hope,
in that?
yeah,
What are you discovering as you're writing
yeah,
this?
I've discovered that people in general are much more ill now than they were 30 years ago. I
Wow.
mean, it's about age stratification and people who previously died at a younger age in back in 1990. Thanks to
Hmm.
medical technology, they're probably being kept alive longer.
Hmm.
So that's what makes the centenarian population more ill because we have more survivors,
I
and
see.
the ones who survive are more ill.
Can I ask super quickly as well? Obviously, I live in England where the culture around transness is very, very toxic. What's the culture like in Sweden, and how has it changed in the last few years, would you say?
Oh, it was more positive a few years ago, I would say, because I mean then it was all about being inclusive and helping each other. But I mean we are feeling a conservative wave here in Sweden as well, and you know, they are banning drag shows and all that, and people are, you know, against everything. So I would say that, I mean, in general we are accepted, but it's becoming harder and harder.
I'm sure. And can I just I have to cover this just sort of from a sort of balance point of view. It's not a position that I agree with. But what
Mm.
would you say to your critics who would say that you have a sort of unfair advantage against your cis counterparts?
I would say that there have been very few studies on the longitudinal effects of HRT. I mean, the studies that have been done that show that trans people have an advantage generally only cover the first 1 or 2 years of transition and not afterwards. And the few longitudinal studies that have been done on like 4 or 5, 10-year perspective, they show that the advantage disappears after 3 or 4 years. So, I mean, I would be more interested in seeing more of those studies and not just the ones that are hammered around in media where people who've been on HRT for like 10 months, oh, see, trans people have an advantage and all that. So I would say that more studies need to be done, and more focus should be on the longitudinal effects and not just the direct effects that are seen after a year or two.
Um, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that answer. Well, that was pretty much all that I wanted to ask. I really
Sure.
appreciate you taking this time to sit down with me. If there's anything else that you sort of want people to know or any other messages that you have, feel free to share that.
I mean, I think that we trans women, we should be allowed to be ourselves, and we should not be discriminated against by being banned from track and field. And I feel that generally the hate is because people don't understand what it means to be transgender or what we go through. And I think that if people actually took the time to learn about what it means being a transgender and what effects HRT have on your body, I mean, I think we would get a bit more be a bit more understood by, by that.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me.